Alright, well, let's talk about Godzilla King of Monsters, the sequel to the 2014 hit film that some people may have liked or hated, depending on which way you looked at it or not. As you saw my review in 2014 after I recently saw it after it came out, I enjoyed it for what it was. Yes, there were some criticizable moments with it, like the lack of screen time Godzilla gets, the cutaways, from all the fight scenes that you're about to be, introduced to and everything like that. The bland characters, killing off Bryan Cranston's character within the first 30 minutes and how dark the film was and so forth. I thought it was great, considering the pacing and everything like that. And obviously, it tries to act like the 1998 crappy remake directed by Roland Emmerich never happened, because of course we all know that wasn't even Godzilla, that was Zilla. So a completely different story there. But not to get too off track, yes, this is actually a sequel to that film. Not the 1998 crap remake, the 2014 film. And so far, it's been getting a rather polar reception between critics and fans alike. So the question is it good or is it bad? I went to see it even after how much critics slammed it for, some ridiculous human characters and despite the fight scenes, and fans on the other hand seem to love it. I'm with the fans on this one. So yes, that doesn't mean the film is without flaw though. Let's look at the facts about this movie. First of all, the human characters, new faces in this film. Instead of the kick-ass actor who was the main character, the army guy, we all know Bryan Cranston, his father in the film to be exact, is not in this because we already know what happens to him in the first one. And of course, Elizabeth Olsen, who plays the wife, which coincidentally is funny considering she plays the sibling of that same actor in Avengers Age of Ultron. And we know what happens to Quicksilver, that's his character obviously, and she plays Scarlet Witch. And as you know, they have a son. They're not even in this movie. But it does relate to this one as if it starts off exactly where that film, a piece of it in the San Francisco scene started off. Keep in mind, spoiler alert, but I'm not going to go into anything major right here that's a spoiler right there. And if you saw that film, you probably already know what happens at the last half of the first film with the San Francisco scene, Godzilla fighting the Mutos and everything like that. So, a new family this time around, led by, of course, the same actress who plays Lorraine Moore, and I forget how exactly you pronounce her name, but you know who I'm talking about. You've seen her in the Orphan movie, The Departed, and so forth. She's like this generation's scream queen. Her husband, or ex-husband in this movie, I should say, played by Kyle Chandler. You've seen him in, of course, Super 8, First Man, the Neil Armstrong movie, and a bunch of other films. He's pretty good in this film. Well, okay. The human characters have been getting a lot of criticism by most of the critics, and even myself included. But I was hyped to see Millie Bobby Brown as one of the main characters, because, as you know, I've been watching Stranger Things, so yeah, a lot of you fans of this show were probably hyped to see her in this film as one of the main characters. Yeah, 11 in this movie. Interesting, right? She somehow gets a connection with, as you know, Mothra, and it does seem like this film tries to be more of a fan service for the die-hard fans, because, yes, the other monsters, as much as I was excited to see Godzilla getting back to the original, tradition, it was great to see him fight other giant monsters, because you didn't get that in that crappy 98 remake. Not to really get into that anymore, I know I'm talking about that a lot, but it was great to see him fight off monsters, but they weren't the most creative ones, and a lot of the scenes were just too dark. There were too many fight scenes at nighttime, and it got so annoying, constant cutoffs, that it made you feel like you were getting cheated so many times, and you had to wait till the last 20 minutes of the movie. But this movie, they just got right into it and put the classic monsters, like Mothra to start with. Not the main monster villain in the film, but somehow Millie Bobby's character develops kind of a connection, and even her mother, who's played by that actress, as I just mentioned before, and as you know, they had kind of a personal family tragedy, which I'm not going to give too much away on that, getting back to the 2014 film. And then, of course, because they work for the government Monarch, and it's a top secret company that is not military involved. You probably know this if you've seen the 2014 film, and of course Kong Skull Island, which exists in the same universe, kind of like how the Avengers movies does. That's coming out next year, Kong vs. Godzilla, in case you're wondering. It's briefly mentioned in this film, as I just said. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot going on, it seems like. Between all the characters, there's lots of locations in this film, so it may seem like a little bit of a muddled mess with all the characters, but you can kind of get into it. Okay, the characters and all, the human characters in general, all the dialogue is a bit cheesy. I will admit, some parts go a little over the top. There is some ridiculously silly moments in this movie that you can't help but laugh at some moments. But if you're looking for some real monster action, you're definitely going to get it in this movie, because for the most part, it's really good. Yes, it's CG, but for most of you complaining that Godzilla didn't get enough screen time in the last movie in 2014, well, I guess they answered back to all the fans' complaints about that, because they give you a lot of it, and it doesn't cut away like crazy. It actually is really good. A lot of times you get that, human viewpoint, but I don't mind that at all, and it looks really good. You get, the Antarctic scene, where, they unleash none other than King Ghidorah, and that's what the fans wanted. You're going to get so much of it in this movie. The music is great. It's like the old Godzilla music that you remember from the older films. Yeah, you're really in for it. So, human characters not perfected, but the monster fights are really good. It seems like the humans are a bit careless on how they're approaching this. It's far-fetched. It's not exactly perfect, but they just are like, you know what? We just want the monsters to fight. We want to give the fans what they want to see. And that's what this movie really does. And I enjoyed it for what it was. It's a little over 2 hours, but the monsters, you see a lot of them fighting. Yes, there's a lot of army scenes and stuff like that, but I don't mind that either. There's still some action with that. It involves, of course, the ex-husband trying to find his estranged daughter, who's, of course, getting kidnapped by this other company that's trying to unleash King Ghidorah. And then they're traveling across the world because it's on the brink of, destruction with all the other monsters. You got Rodan, you got all this crazy stuff happen. It's like a post-apocalyptic world, and yes, it gets really dark, but it's not as dark as the last movie was. And it's great. I didn't mind it at all. I was surprised to hear so many negative reactions. Yes, there's a lot of corny jokes in this movie, but there are some returning faces as well, like Ken Watanabe's character, and I've enjoyed his enthusiasm out of his character in the last movie. How he's like, let Godzilla fight, and, how he was enthusiastic about wanting to see them fight and all that, because, yeah, of course, he is Japanese, and I'm not going to give anything away on which characters, of course, lose their life in this movie, but there are some sad moments as well, which you don't, I don't know, some people say you don't really want to care about it, but I kind of felt bad for them, but I'm not going to give that away, though. But his character definitely gets a lot more screen time, which I definitely liked. He cares for Godzilla, and yes, of course, if you saw the trailer, the whole Godzilla, we're going to be his pet dialogue was a little bit cheesy. There are some pretty corny jokes in this movie, of course, the fact that it takes place at Fenway, there's a Red Sox reference joke in there, and there's even a Three Stooges joke, so yeah, a lot of corny stuff thrown in there. And yes, of course, you got the same guy from Billy Madison, that guy who plays Eric as one of the guys who works for Monarch. You got a whole bunch of new faces, but I like the 2 returning faces from the last movie, and yeah, you got some of the Army guys returning. Yes, that same guy who you probably remember from Spider-Man Chronicles and 8 Man Out. So overall, yeah, I'd say this movie was definitely worth it. It was a good popcorn flick. If you're looking for a lot of action, you're definitely going to get it. But if you're looking for an Oscar-winning Best Picture movie, yeah, you're far from it right there. It definitely gives you what you want if you want to see Godzilla fight other giant monsters. I love the last piece of dialogue that comes out of this character, and yeah, it's great. It definitely shows that Godzilla can still be king. So, yep, definitely worth it. I love especially the end credits music. I thought that was really kick-ass. And also stick around during after the credits scene, because, well, there's one that may hint what's upcoming in the future. I'm not sure if that's going to build up to something next that's, again, a love letter to Godzilla fans, but I think this was enough for Godzilla fans to really enjoy and bring back giant monsters and show that they can just be awesome as ever. Until next time, and of course next year, we all know who's going to be fighting to be king between the 2 kings, Godzilla and King Kong themselves, but before I get too off topic here, definitely worth it. Good popcorn entertainment. Monsters rule. Yeah. Rockin' Wii Remote Wii Motion Plus up and the Plane Wii Remote up. Trust me, that was a good fun time. So, Till next time, keep watching.